Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar on managing global development teams during turbulent times. We've all experienced a lot of change over the past 2 years, and that will continue into the near future. Enterprise businesses are more global than ever, with teams spanning time zones, countries, and cultures. With Great Dynamics, believe that this trend will continue and even accelerate. The future of work inside and outside corporations is no longer about a single concentrated location, and the amazing talent that today's employers can tap into is distributed around the globe. So, what does it all mean in terms of managing highly distributed teams that are addressing complex technology issues that are mission critical? We'll answer questions like this during the panel webinar, where our own Great Dynamics CFO Anil Dalradla will be joined by Vijay Karthik, Chief Technology Officer at Neiman Marcus, and Sarah Miller, Chief Information Officer of Vontier. I couldn't imagine a better group of people to address such challenges than the executives we have gathered here today. They represent the leadership in their respective industries, have a reputation for creatively addressing challenges. And now, let me introduce June Bauer, the moderator for the panel. June is an accomplished marketeer, having first learned the trade at early days of Apple Computer, where she worked with Steve Jobs as a consumer marketing manager for the Macintosh in a company of about 300 people. She went on to serve as a marketing leader and chief marketing officer at big and small corporations in Silicon Valley, such as 3Com, Adobe, Cisco, WebEx, and others. Today, June works as a consultant with companies around the globe to help them grow their revenue and increase the value. Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and very excited about this webinar today. I want to thank our panelists for joining us and our audience for joining us as well. I'm so happy that we also have Anil, our CFO, joining us today as part of our panel. Very happy to have you, Anil, and I know you have many, many years of experience both on Wall Street and in technology. So I think what you're going to contribute today is going to be wonderful and a great addition to the panel. I'd like to get started by introducing our panel. And in addition to Anil, I want Sarah to give us a short introduction about her amazing background. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Miller. I'm the Vontier Chief Information Officer. So I've been with Vontier for about 3 years now. Prior to Vontier, I was with Neiman Marcus Group, where I was the CIO there as well. Prior to that, I was with Lowe's Company, and then I've been in retail for most of my career and started off at IBM. So I've been really excited to be part of Vontier and play this role where I'm really focused on bringing new technologies and digital capabilities to our organization. Thank you.
Vijay, it'd be great if you could give us a short introduction. Tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm Vijay Karthik, CTO of Neiman Marcus Group. I've been with Neiman Marcus for close to 5 years. My responsibility includes all the customer-facing technologies, the enterprise technology operations, enterprise architecture, and also our cloud engineering teams.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'd like to ask you a question, which is, what is your global development strategy? And what went into your decision to choose the locations you're in? And then what are your future plans for your workforce? You made some decisions to be where you are, but are you going to stick in those locations? Are you looking for new ones? How are you approaching this whole area?
Sure, yeah. So from a global development strategy point of view, we are not restricted to certain geographic regions. So we go where the talent is, right? If the talent is in North America, Central America, Asia, we go there. There are few regions that we tend not to go for talent, like Russia or China or those countries. But apart from that, we go to pretty much any country where we have talent. And so we currently have teams in East Europe. We have a lot of resources from Grid Dynamics in East Europe. We also have Grid Dynamics resources in USA, in North America. We have other staffing partners who have resources in India, also in Central America as well, right? So I think we don't want to draw physical boundaries around where the talent should be. There are smart and talented individuals across the globe, and we want to find them and go after them. So the strategy. What decisions went into choosing locations? Like I said, we were primarily in the past, I would say close to about 4 years back, maybe 5 years back, most of our talent was in North America or in India, right? And we got introduced to Grid Dynamics through several of our friends and leaders in the space. So we spoke to Grid Dynamics, brought them on board, and then that's how we got exposed to their resources in East Europe, right? And similarly, once with the success of them being in East Europe, there were other staffing partners who came to us and said, "Hey, we also have talent. Do you want to use talent?" So we don't entertain too many partners, but we sort of pick and choose. That's how we ended up with certain locations that we are globally, and it's worked out really well for us because we have a remote working arrangements that we use. Primarily, we use whether it's Zoom or Teams. So every team, we also have overlapping hours. So pretty much most of our stand-ups happen in the morning time, which could be evening time in Europe, same time in Central America. It sort of has worked out well for us. And with everybody being connected through an online platform, whether it's Slack or Teams, we're able to share knowledge and be part of a team that's sort of virtually co-located. In terms of future plans, I think we want to keep doing what we're doing and expanding as well. We don't want to draw any restrictions. If we find new talent in, let's just say in Finland, we'll go after people in Finland, right? So I think there are talent everywhere, and if we can scale, we'll just keep scaling.
And I can say, as a devout customer of your company, of Neiman Marcus, your shopping experience only continues to get better and better. And sadly, I think you're getting more and more of my money. But I certainly can tell you, I personally appreciate everything you're doing, because it is a pleasure as a customer to experience your online shopping experience. So Sarah, let me ask you this. What is your company's global development strategy, and what went into the decision to choose the locations that you're in? And do you have any thoughts maybe on what you're thinking about for the future? I'd love to hear.
Sure. So first I thought I'd start off talking about Vontier and who we are. We are a global industrial technology company that's really at the forefront of solving next generation mobility and transportation challenges. We're a global company already. We're about 8,500 employees, and we're based in Raleigh, North Carolina, but we have research, development, manufacturing, sales, services, and other operations located in approximately 30 countries around the world. Primarily, we're in North America, Asia, Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. Our strategy is to deliver smart, sustainable solutions to create a better world. And so what I mean by smart is that we harness the power of connected digital workflows and analytics to solve high-value problems for our customers. So from a sustainability standpoint, our innovations and technologies pave the way to a safer and cleaner planet. And our solutions are all around connected customers and communities with innovation, mobility technologies that service the needs and thrive in a world that's ever and rapidly changing. So being such a global company means that we already have a very global workforce. And this puts us closer to our customers, but also gives us diversity of talent. And we also have more of a flexible distribution of workforce across the globe. So part of our growth and transformation strategy is to expand our software and software-enabled solutions, which requires expanding our software development capabilities, such as engineering, software development, quality assurance, and other types of software development practices. And we need partners like Grid Dynamics to help us to expand these capabilities. We're already working with Grid Dynamics on data and analytics capabilities and challenges that we've had in being able to create better data and analytics solutions. But then also we've been working with Grid Dynamics on creating an e-commerce solution for one of our operating companies. So these type of partnerships really help us expand our capabilities around the globe.
That's fantastic. That sounds like an amazing strategy and something that a company like Vontier really needs to do, being that you are such a global company and growing. So that's a great strategy. So Anil, a question for you. What in your mind are the benefits of a global workforce from a financial perspective? And I'd love to hear what you think the benefits are for the company and for your shareholders as well.
Thanks for the question, June. As you know, a global workforce gives us a number of benefits. First, the diversification let us recruit the best talent in this very tight labor market. Grid Dynamics is a brand that's well known and attractive to technical talent across the world. This gives us the ability to scale up our workforce when and as needed. The second important point is by being present across multiple regions where the cost of living and salaries are lower than what we see in the United States, provides us with the ability to enable significant projects for our clients that may not have been viable otherwise from a financial point of view. And finally, our workforce is very global in nature, and it creates a portfolio of locations that hedge against the potential risks in any one a given location. Today, we're in roughly a dozen or so countries, and within each country, we're in multiple cities. If the labor market becomes tight in one location, for example, we can grow our workforce in other locations. In this way, we're prepared for and capable of serving our customers' needs, regardless of the moving parts and the dynamics in any one country. And finally, being a global company serving the needs of our customer that are present globally, we're able to serve their needs on a 24/7 timeframe as our employees work across different time zones.
So Sarah, let me ask you this. How have you managed your team in today's evolving economic and political climate?
So this evolving economic and political climate continues to be a challenge and creates more complexity for us every day. But we have a really best-in-class leadership team focused on our supply chain. And that's where we're impacted the most through these unprecedented times. So our global supply chain really focuses on headwinds such as inflation and material shortages and even absenteeism due to COVID and other types of issues. But our business has been able to respond to these challenges, so partly by using data and analytics, but also been able to create pricing changes when necessary to react to these issues. But then we also think it's been very important as a response to the political changes and climate is to have a team that's really focused on our goals and our critical few priorities as a company. So one of our goals in our organization has been around streamlining our processes. We call this focus and prioritization processes. And what we are doing is we're using our Vontier business system, which is a core shared value and empowers every aspect of our culture and performance. And we use VBS to simplify our performance management processes, but also to ensure that our employees are aligned to the priorities in businesses and delivering on our Vontier strategy and vision. Through VBS, we are able to connect our global employees and also ensure that our employees have the goals and clear communication and focus to those goals. Then we also help them focus on learning and growth opportunities. and being able to ensure that those are also connected to our values. And we having regular conversations and being able to respond to any changing issues has also been a big benefit for us. So the end, it's all around helping manage our teams and really stay connected to what's most important for the organization and our operating companies.
Well, I really take my hat off to Vontier because you are super focused not just on hiring great development talent around the world, but you're really focused on how do you help them learn and develop and create teamwork, all those things that ultimately are absolutely necessary. And the best technology isn't going to be good enough unless you have those as part of your mix.
Right. Yeah, really think staying connected and making sure we can respond to changes as they come up has been really important to us.
That's great. That's great advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned that you work with Grid Dynamics and with the Grid Dynamics team that is in Eastern Europe. How has that affected, now with the war going on in Ukraine, how has that affected your development, you as a user of these outside resources that Grid brings? How's that affected your experience?
I think, in terms of the immediate effect was just more around resources being displaced. There were some of the resources, even inside Ukraine, they were in different east, north, south, west of Ukraine. So initially resources who were on the east of Ukraine got impacted, and they were, the Grid Dynamics team helped move them over to the western part of Ukraine, right? So our work still continued, right? We were more concerned about our resources. So we said, hey, safety first, make sure they are safe, right? If there's work slippage, we can catch up on it every now and then, right? Very important to take care of family. They are our extended family, right? We spend a lot of time with them, right? Take care of them, make sure they are safe, and then we would get updates very often from the GD team. And then so the team members still continued to join the stand-up. That was pretty amazing to us. The commitment that the resources had was pretty amazing. You have a war on your backyard and you're still joining stand-ups. So we would tell them that don't be obligated to join stand-ups. Take care of your family first, right? And then like they will go dark for a couple of days, but they will come back again and then catch up on the work and keep producing. So the impact hasn't been great from a work point of view. Resources were impacted. We feel really bad for them. We have done whatever we can to help the team over there and the families. So so I think we would still continue to work with Grid Dynamics.
It sounds like a true, real team effort, which you must have had before the war even started. It sounds like people in those groups are very close to each other. Yeah, I mean, we've been working with them for several years, so we sort of build a bond with the resources, right? And these are resources who were also on site in our Dallas office before they went back to Ukraine, right? So we know these resources personally as well. So we sort of feel that, like, have the empathy towards them, right? So I think the bond is there, so which is why we will continue to use them for our future needs. That's great to hear, and it really does sound like an awesome example of teamwork, which is very heartening. Yeah. So let's turn back to your team and talk about how you've managed your own team in today's evolving economic and political climate. Is that something you think about in terms of where your team members are located, and how important is that to you? Yeah, I think, it is, I mean, COVID and post-COVID, we sort of made a very conscious effort of saying sort of the ways of working at Neiman Marcus, I mean, you could be anywhere you want, right? There are some restrictions on where you can be, but we sort of opened it up. So I have resources even within Neiman Marcus, within my team, who are not in Dallas. They are in different parts of the country, right? And like I said, with the remote workforce kind of tools that we have, it has sort of helped us to be virtually connected all the time, right? So the resources are spread across the country, so I mean, it has sort of helped us to get in more talent as well. Since sometimes your Dallas market gets saturated, there are too many employers here, so we're able to reach out
beyond Dallas, Chicago, California, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, and able to get more talents from there. That's helped us also grow our team. Plus, also have consultants through Grid Dynamics or any other partner who can also be anywhere they want, right?
That's powerful. I mean, that gives you a lot of flexibility,
Yep.
a lot of options. It probably gives you a lot of agility, I would imagine, too.
Yeah, I mean, it is the scale, right? We have a lot of strategic initiatives that we are working on, which means that I need people to deliver on them, right? So having teams spread out through the globe helps us scale and meet the demand.
That's fantastic. It sounds like a really effective strategy. Are there any changes or thoughts you have on what you're going to be working on immediately relative to your team and your location? Or do you simply plan on continuing the strategy that you put in place?
I think we will continue the strategy because this whole remote work kicked in post-COVID, right? And it sort of worked in our favor. So we would probably continue in that model, right? And just speaking with the Grid Dynamics partners, they mentioned they want to scale their team as well in other parts of the globe. So we are very eager to work with them to see what potential they have, they can bring to us, and we'll partner with them ongoing.
Anil, how has the war affected your global development strategy?
So as you know, June, Grid Dynamics is a company focused on global delivery and operations. We're located in a dozen or so countries. And the projects that we've designed typically has diversification across location and project teams. So our focus on global delivery, our focus on delivering projects across multiple locations, from that perspective, nothing has changed. Now, what we are doing is that given the war, we are accelerating and moving up our certain plans. For example, India is a good example where we always had plans of entering into India. We're also looking at all the locations where we serve that are not affected by the war, and we're ramping up our growth out there. So as you can see, from a long-term strategy point of view, the war really has not affected us as we continue to do what we do and continue to do in a certain roadmap which we've already defined. But we've moved around some pieces of the puzzle from a timing point of view.
Anil, I'd love to hear from you how Grid has managed the war in Ukraine and how you've been able to continue to provide high levels of customer service and customer satisfaction during such a disruptive period.
Yeah, well, in many ways, no one can ever be ready for something like this, right? However, once we were faced with this eventuality, we took stock of our exposure in these regions, and we created a robust assistance and evacuation program to get all our engineers to safer regions. And I'm very happy to say that all of our engineers over the last month have been accounted for and are safe along with their families. I think the other very important thing that we've done is ramp up on our recruitments. And our recruiting teams are working overtime and hiring people in other geographies that are beyond the areas that have been affected. And we do expect to see our headcount increasing across these different regions. The most important thing here is that through all this, we've seen amazing support from our customers. Not only are they on board with what we're planning to do, but they want to help us in every way they can. Our customers have stood by us, and our engineers have showed unprecedented resilience and determination. And the organization itself has shown the foresight and what I call the clinical precision, which is needed to work through in such times.
How are you communicating and monitoring the situation, especially with Grid Dynamics in Eastern Europe? to ensure that you understand what's happening and that if necessary, you can make changes?
Yeah. So the first and foremost is, the data that we receive from our partners in Grid Dynamics. They provide us feedback at least twice a day on what's happening in Ukraine, right? We also hear from our team members on what's happening in Ukraine, right? Which helps us plan for future deliveries, for future programs that we have, right? And then from Grid Dynamics point of view, they have other plans of, hey, we're going to expand our Poland office, or we're going to look at expanding our India office, right? So which means that if we have some roadblocks in onboarding resources in Ukraine, they're able to bring us resources from Poland or Serbia or India or other locations. So that sort of helps us. We do make sure that our resources who are in Ukraine are safe. We talk to them almost several times a day or a week, right? So and they sort of are very open about how they're feeling about this, how their family members are. So we are very very much in touch with the team members, right? We empathize with what's happening with them, and we told them, hey, safety is very, very important. Take care of your family first. And so far, I think with the bond that we have and the trust that we have, we're able to know more about what's happening, right? I think things are getting better now. With the resources are safer right now. So I think all that feedback, is sort of good for us.
I'd be very interested to hear your perspective on how this global expansion is going to affect your financial and business results.
So as you know, June, Grid Dynamics is a IT services provider considered a premier provider with what I call best-in-class financial metrics. And this has largely been accomplished by a talented workforce that offers unique and differentiated skill sets across the globe on a daily basis. Our company is growing, and we're really proud of expanding into new markets across both with our customers as well as our labor force. Excuse me. One of Grid Dynamics' strengths is we know how to build, manage, train what I call a spectacular remote workforce in a way that brings outstanding results to our customers. We find the best talent in affordable parts of the world and can manage and scale our workforce in a cost-effective fashion to meet all the growing needs. The strategy has enabled us to get to where we are today, and we continue to use this to grow in the future. So in conclusion, I would say that a global workforce is absolutely key to our success, and we do expect to significantly grow across most of the regions in the world.
Well, I would like to thank all of our panelists today who've joined us for this webinar. It's been a pleasure having you, and I've learned so much from what you've said. And I especially want to thank our audience who joined us today. We're so grateful that you've taken the time to join and to listen in on this incredibly interesting and informative conversation about global expansion. We're so happy that you've been here, and we really appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing you sometime in the near future. On behalf of Grid Dynamics, thank you all.